Hi everyone, so today I thought I would talk to you about propagating variegated Philodendron micans. I'm going to just talk you through my soil mix. This is the way I like to propagate it. There's no right or wrong way, you do what's best for you. I wanted to talk to you a couple of things about variegated micans, and they aren't the most stable plants. So I've got quite a lot here to get through. I have piled plants upon plants. So my first thing that I want to do is kind of separate them because they're all in a big tangle mess. And I'm sure where I get to parts like this, Stace can also just speed it up for me because she's our tech guru. So I thought maybe let me just grab this one and show you. So these are previous propagations from variegated micans. And as you can see, the conversion is not great. So we've had a couple that have given us variegation, but a lot that have just reverted. So when cutting the variegated micans, make sure that you have a good top cut. So this is a relatively good variegated micans. I think there's 2 growth points in here. These guys are so tangly. Okay, so that's given us a nice variegated leaf. That leaf is not variegated, not variegated, and there it's kind of come back again. But if you look at the stem, I don't know if you can see this. I'm not sure if I'm even putting this correctly. So if you look at the stem, you can see there is a line of variegation in there. I don't know if you can see it or not. That side is more green, but this side I can see that line going through. So even though this leaf is green, the next leaf that pops out might have variegation on it. So there's a better, I don't know if I'm showing this in the right place. So there is a better indication of the line. So I'm going to cut these into single leaves for propagating, and we're going to just hope for the best. I will, for the top cut, make sure I've got that nice variegated leaf. This will just carry on the way it is going. So it might do better, or it might revert like it looks like it wants to, but you don't know. And then I've had some with beautifully variegated leaves, and then they give you no variegation when you cut them. So this one's also very mishmashed. So I think Stace can speed this part up a little bit for everyone while I detangle and chop. So this one as well, it's got 2 growth points, and when I first cut it I was like, oh no, it's reverted, because you can see there I had what, 3, 4 all green leaves, and then it came back. And I mean, look, now it's beautiful. It's got this really beautiful variegation on it. This side started off a lot better, and then if I come down to the end of this string, it's still got variegation on it, but so what the point I'm trying to make is that they are not the most stable. So even with a really good start, you can end up with a couple of green leaves in between. But don't panic if that does happen. Just keep your eye on it, because the variegation does tend to come back. So it is quite normal. Oh, these leaves are dusty. It's quite normal for them to have a few green in between. Okay, I'm just going to have a look here. So this started as a great propagation, and this one unfortunately didn't do so well. This is all green, the whole every leaf is green, showing no variegation, but I want to carefully check the stem and see if I can see any variegation on the stem, which unfortunately I don't see much variegation on the stem. Does that mean it's not worth propping and chopping? Absolutely not. You never know. So definitely cut back, try again. There's always worth a chance to try again, especially closer to that mother node. I think there's a couple of propagations in here, so I want to just see this variegated leaf where it starts from and see if there's another node on there. So that'll also get a chop up. And then I've got these guys who are propagations that are just not doing great, and I'm going to move them into a different mix. And also this pot, I think, is just way too big for them, so I'm going to sort that pot out and put them into smaller propagation trays. Again, look at that beautiful start, and where the new growth started on that node, it's all just reverted, and I don't see any more. I just don't see any more variegation on the stem, so I don't think those are going to do very well. I think they're pretty much reverted. Same with this guy. He had a bit of variegation there. Although I do see variegation on the stem. So there's quite a good chance that maybe this node will give me something better. But after that, it's looking very green. I don't see much variegation on the stem. I don't think I'm going to have much else to go on, unfortunately. So, but the bottom node there looks like it might give us another chance. So I'm going to put him over there as well, because most of those are going to be green. This is an interesting scenario. This one went all variegated with no green, but I can see there is a little bit of green on the stem. But when I say a little bit of green, it is so little, and I'm worried to cut this because it doesn't, the only green it's getting is from the mother leaf. So I'm a bit nervous to just cut. I think I might wait for this to get a little bit more green. Hopefully it looks like there's a bit more green coming on the stem, so I'm going to wait on this and hopefully get some more green in here, because if I cut that, the new cuts aren't going to do anything, they're just going to die. So this is also not the best, but if you look at the stem has got really good variegation on it. So cutting this guy up might give us a couple more variegated plants. It doesn't have the best aerial roots, but hey, let's see what we can do. So that's at least got some variegation on it. This one here as well. It wanted to. It's got a 1 or 2 variegated leaves, and then it kind of just reverts. Unfortunately, stem is looking very green. It doesn't look very promising, but we'll cut it back and see what we can get. And this guy as well, this has got some fairly okay variegation, so he'll stay on this side. And then this I was propagating in moss, so the roots look really good. Oh, I see an Epi came with us. How fun. You can go back in the box, I'll brought him outside. So this has some variegation in between. So it's not the best specimen, but there is variegation there, so also ready for a chop up, and hopefully we'll get some better yield. So when you cut, I like to at least have some aerials at the bottom there, so I'm going to cut around there. Not all nodes will have aerials, and then also when you're propagating, I'm just going to put those in there. I don't want to make that node too big, because if you look here, the new growth points will start off, I don't know if you can even see if I'm doing this right, it should start off roughly around there. I think that's the growing eye, the new leaf under the sheath there. So on the internode, I kind of just snip it off, because you don't want it so big that it's not going to fit in the tray. So I will cut this closer. Yeah, I'll use that now, so I might as well. And then the internode can go in there. It's got some nice aerials, so it should take off. You don't have to pull the sheath off, it's completely optional if you want to. There's another better example of the growing eye. I don't know if you can see that there. That little bump, that's where the new plant is going to grow from. So this one I will cut over there, and then I will cut the internode there. So I'm not a big fan of moss. Although this was just, I was lazy and I put it in a moss tray, so that's why it's in moss. This is a problem, because you will snap that root and it will cause rots, so you might as well just cut it off. I know it sounds not great, but if I try and curl that into a pot or something, it's going to snap and it has more chance of getting rots. Okay, so these two with the moss roots, I'm going to put in a moss cup. So for now, I'm just going to put them on that side. This is the mix that I use for propagation. So you're looking at about a half of whatever you're using of cocoa peat that's been buffered and is damp. Quarter vermiculite, because they need to stay a bit damp. You don't want it to dry out too fast, and you also don't want it to sit too wet, so you're putting in a bit of perlite. So I'll put all of this together and give it a good mix. And then we take my little cell tray, put that next to it. So in the cell tray, all I've done is I have put a little piece of paper at the bottom to stop the soil mix from falling straight through the bottom. And then I'm using a little bit of rooting gel. I don't think it really matters whichever one you want to use. I'm just using that one. Okay, So when I do this, all I do is I'll generally dunk it in. You want to get the ends because it's also like a sterile thingy. The rooting gel sterilizes the cuts. Then I will put this in here, put a little bit on top, and push down. I think it should be working the other way, maybe from the middle down and then turn the tray around. So stick both ends. You can also stick it in the cell and then fill the cell with and that's make sure it's fairly compact in here. And I know it looks a bit dry now, but when I'm finished I will give it a really good watering with pot radix. Pot radix is nice. It's just an early plant seedling food. I think it's designed for cannabis, but I use it. It seems fine, does the job. And then I will give them a weekly misting with some Nevian. We do also mist frequently with pesticides. I do quite a bit of pesticide preventative spraying. And I think I've said most of everything important, is that just check the stem for variegation. Don't freak out if they give you a couple of green leaves. It doesn't mean it's not coming back. Give your plant good light, good feed. They all help. So if I was propagating and I only had an outside greenhouse, I wouldn't do it really at this time of year because it's getting a little cold. So for me, because I've got this inside hothouse, I'm not too fussed. I don't do too much propagating at this time of year. Another question I get a lot from people is, why is my website so empty? I know it's bad, but it's hard to explain. So I hate selling cuttings. I don't like to. I like to make sure that it's got a couple of roots, and if it's a variegated plant, I like to make sure it's showing variegation. I mean, you'd hate to spend the amount of money on one of these. I mean, these normally sell for what, 1.5 to 2,000 rand, and then its next leaf is green. I mean, that's devastating. So I like to make sure that I have new leaves and good roots, and that the plant is happy and thriving and it shows variegation. Then you have a better idea of what you're going to get. Yes, I cannot guarantee future variegation. It is a luck of the draw kind of thing, but at least you can have a better idea of what you're getting, so you can see that the next leaf has got variegation and that it is you know, a little bit of a better chance of staying variegated versus just being all green. And because that's your biggest chance of reversion, is when you cut. So maybe that explains why there's not a lot on my website. And also, it's just, there's me and Jean. So Jean helps a little bit here and there with photographs, but then I've got auctions and the websites, and then a lot of people just contact me directly for plants that they're looking for, and then I'll sell something, and then I've also put it on the website, and then it gets double sold, and then I feel like a real nincompoop, and then I panic. So that's why I'm very cautious on putting things on the website, because I'm worried that you're gonna get, I'm gonna sell a plant that's either already sold, or because I'm not so on top of the website, I've got so many things to do that sometimes I haven't checked if it's already been sold, or I've forgotten to take it off the website. So when I can try and get more stuff on the website, I will, and when that happens, I will let you guys know. I've got a tray of begonia over there. I'm going to try and move the camera. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it shows. But those we're propagating, so I'm quite keen to, we should also have a couple of begonia coming out soon. So I think what might be fun is, so this was the highly variegated plants that I've cut and put into this tray. It might be interesting to see what happens when I cut the very low variegated or reverted plants and put them in a separate tray. It would be interesting to see what comes up of in variegation wise in a couple of months, so we can see the yield of the variegated plants versus the low variegated plants and what we get. So that might be an interesting follow-up to do. A lot of people do ask me, I might have to make some more mix. Why don't I sell cuttings? Like, for example, just sell a cutting. And, you know, like I said, to pay the money for something you might not get is the reason why I don't. But then people say, well, sell it cheaper. So, you know, people can get the plant cheaper and take the risk, which, yes, I could do that, but I've got such a bleeding heart. I've done it before, and then people say, oh, my plant's all reverted and I didn't get the variegation, and then I feel bad, and then I replace them or send another one and say, well, try again. So sometimes I think it's better for me to just do it, and then I know that I'm not making anyone like feel bad that I've sold them something that is not great. I prefer people to be like, wow, everything's perfect, but I suppose it's not the way of the world. I'm also not putting rooting hormone in that one. We'll just see what happens, but it's got really long roots, so we'll just see what happens. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm also not going to water these right away. I'll probably water them in about an hour. I will update this video a bit later when I have done another tray with all the green guys and then filled it all up and given them a good watering. Bye for now. So this is the finished green tray. So these are mainly green. There's a couple of variegated mid cuts that I came across, but mostly the green tray, and that is from the more variegated mother plants, and these are from the more green ones. I'm going to give them a good watering in a minute, so I'm just going to give them about an hour to settle, and then I'll come and give them a good watering, and we're going to see what happens. Thank you all, and have a great weekend.